So this is what I thought of the first act of Soul. What's going on? Which character are we supposed to be focusing on right now? And here's what I thought of the last two-thirds of Soul. Wow, this might actually have one of the most abstract messages Pixar has put in their movies. Hey everyone, Blood Moon Bobby here. So, yes, I am going to be reviewing Disney and Pixar's newest movie, Soul. Today, it was released back on Disney Plus on Christmas. This is the new movie from Pete Docter, who is also director of Inside Out, Monsters Inc., and Up, and it stars Jamie Foxx and Tina Fey. So what exactly is Soul about? The movie follows a musician named Joe Gardner, that's the guy right behind me on my screen, who falls into a place called the Great Beyond, and since he doesn't want to die, he jumps off and goes to a place called the Great Before, also called the U Seminar, which is a place where new souls learn to get their interests and personalities. Along the way, he comes across a soul named 22, played by Tina Fey, and he has to be her mentor and show her why it's great living in a life on Earth, while at the meantime Joe has to figure out a way in order to get back into his human body. Okay, since I thought the last two-thirds of Soul were really amazing, I'm mostly going to start off with my criticisms of the movie. Again, not that I think Soul was a bad film or anything, it's a really outstanding movie, but I kind of wanted to start off with my criticisms so that I don't really spoil the really good stuff that comes in this film. So most of my issues with Soul mainly come from the first act, mainly because it just kind of felt disoriented and it felt a little clumsy and a little too fast paced, mostly because it felt like the movie was constantly changing focal points through the first third of the film. So we start off with seeing that Joe is in the youth seminar, and we're thinking that, okay, we're gonna see that it's mainly gonna focus on him getting back into his body, and maybe he'll learn something about himself, and then it kind of quickly changes over to him mentoring 22, and it's explained in a very fast way where he's thinking, oh, if I could mentor a soul, in this case 22, then I could get at that soul's what they call the Earth Pass, so I could go back to Earth. And then thereafter, after 22 figures out, tries different interests and tries figuring out what she wants to do, which admittedly is done in a really funny scene. We see that she can't really figure things out, so we see that she's trying to help Joe figure out a way to get back to Earth. And then we actually see the two characters, as indicated in the trailer, they both go to Earth themselves. Gonna try not to spoil exactly what happens on their adventures at Earth, but the point of what I'm trying to say is basically it just kind of felt like the movie was changing its focus a little too fast, almost as if the movie was kind of got a little overly excited about the story it has to tell and just threw all these plot points at us. So I kind of wish that the beginning of the film was better paced. I ended up actually, as I was typing notes for this review, I actually had to type a mini outline of, okay, so which character are we following right now, just so I could reorient myself and try to keep in mind, okay, so we went from focusing on Joe falling into the youth seminar, and now we're jumping over to 22, and now the characters are going over to Earth. So I would highly recommend, if you do watch this movie, which I do recommend, and I think there are going to be people out there who are able to get through the first act just fine, just kind of be careful. I would say the best way to look at the first act is look at it more so as Joe mentoring 22, because even when they do go to Earth, Joe is still helping 22, figure out how to get around. So I would say that's the best way to look at the first act without getting overly confused. But now it's on to the stuff that I really liked about Soul, and any problems I had with that first act, the second and third acts of the film more than made up for any flaws that I saw in the first third of the movie. And the first thing I want to say, the animation is just really spectacular. I like how the film uses really different color schemes. The U Seminar is a very bright and colorful world. It probably looks really great watching on a 4K HDR TV. And just like in Inside Out, the real world itself is in a more naturalistic color palette, as it should. And I really like how how this movie is able to shift between different art styles without feeling like overly jarring or anything like that. It feels like very integrated into the story. Like, for instance, a lot of the characters in the youth seminar, mainly the guide characters that the film calls the Jerry, and also the Jerry, what they call the Jerry and Terry characters, the basically the guides, the people who work in the youth seminar, are done in this like very like 2D style where they're not like super three-dimensional characters, and I like how it's meant to be something more like intangible, and even some of the objects that the characters pick up in this youth seminar are done in this like very distinct two-dimensional style. And I also liked how it's able to switch between different art styles in order to not just like different art styles, but in terms of like different voice actors in order to convey the different characters' perspectives. So I thought the way it's able to shift art styles was really smart. And I also really liked our lead characters, Joe and 22. You see, you're shown how how Joe became interested in jazz music and how it became his passion and interest, and just how he just went through a lot in his life in terms of how he went through a lot of rejection, and he wound up being a middle school band teacher. But at the same time, you could see how the drive he has and why he wants so badly to be the pianist in this really famous band that he's all getting excited about. And I often do feel like Joe sometimes, where it often feels like my passion and interests are what define me as a person. And I also really enjoyed 22's journey as well. Like, yeah, she can come off as pretty snarky at times, but I thought she was pretty funny in her scenes. Like, I still remember and one of the funny scenes in the youth seminar I thought was when she tries out to be a firefighter. She was like, "I want to make this thing burn. It looks enticing." And she gets a few good laughs like that. But I also thought that they made her journey where she realizes that hey, Earth isn't that bad, was really naturalistic and relatable. It's the sort of thing where she's like almost certain that no, I'm not gonna like my life on Earth, but after going through some experiences, again, I'm not gonna like get into how she like does so or what happens when she and Joe come back to Earth, because that's really spoiler territory, and I think that would give away a really good twist in this movie. But I thought the way she discovers Earth life was done really well, and it's done in a very like, no pun intended, down to earth and very understanding way. I think one of the scenes I related to most was there's a scene where 22 and Joe have to work together in order to communicate to Joe's mother. And now, yes, Joe's mother is the sort of character who isn't very sure about Joe going into being a musician and is really concerned about his financial security and so forth. But I still thought that she was a very like understandable character. Like it's the kind of thing where it's like I was able to like understand where she was coming from. They don't just make her like like, oh, she's the super villain and that sort of thing. Like it's the kind of like understandable character, and even like somebody that like I could I think is similar to a lot of like people I've come across myself. And I really like how when they have that moment of understanding between these three characters, it's really done in a convincing way. It's not done where it's like they make like the mother character like a stereotypical like sort of villain character. No, you understand where each of the characters are coming from. And I think this movie does an overall really good job of making the stories seem like the story itself seemed much more tangible and understandable and relatable. But I would have to say my favorite scene in Soul would have to be that ending. And again, I'm not trying to be very spoilery in this review. I think you yourself should go out and watch the movie. It's currently on Disney Plus. Nice thing is that they're not charging an extra $30 like a certain other movie that got put on Disney Plus. But I'm going to try to explain the ending as best I could without spoiling. Basically, I really like how abstract it is, and just how it really just comes back to Joe, and how he makes a big realization of what what really matters about living life and so forth. And I really like how it's done in a very abstract way, because a lot of audience members are going to interpret life differently, and live different lives, have different kinds of families and professions. And I feel like because of the abstract nature of the ending, it's going to resonate with a lot of people. And me personally, I'm not gonna lie, I was actually I was ugly crying by the ending, because it just made me feel like so much better about where I am. And I'm really glad that I watched this movie on the day before I'm supposed to go back to work at my full-time job, because it really does make me feel a lot better about who I am. Yeah, oh my god, I'm getting kind of emotional just thinking about the ending again. But it's done in a very abstract way. The message isn't very clear cut, but I really like how it isn't clear cut, because I think it makes the message much more relatable to a lot of people. And before I actually started filming this review, I was actually talking with a friend of mine, and he said that the ending sticks with him, and it's sticking with me as well. I would like to take it in as a life lesson. I thought the ending, it's one of the most powerful endings I've seen from a Pixar movie in like quite a while, honestly. Like, yes, there's many Pixar movies with really emotional endings, like Coco or Inside Out or Up, and those are all really good movies. But what I like about Souls is that it's not very clear cut, and it's very abstract, and I think it can really resonate with a lot of people. So overall, I think Soul is a really great movie. Yeah, the beginning is kind of messy, and it lacks focus, but I think overall the last 2/3 of the movie more than make up for any flaws that I saw in the opening of the film. It's a very relatable movie. It's a very powerful movie. It has like very understandable characters, and they learn a lesson that I think many of us could really resonate with. So overall, Soul, really enjoyed this movie. It's easily one of the best movies I've seen in 2020. I would even go as far as to say it's one of my favorite Pixar or films, and if you have a Disney Plus subscription, I would recommend going to go watch it. So those are my thoughts on Soul. Let me know your thoughts down below. Have you seen the movie? What do you think of it? Leave all those thoughts down below, and until next time, this has been Blood Moon Bobby, and thank you all for watching. Hi everyone, thanks for watching this Blood Moon Bobby video. Like and share the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel to see more of my videos, and ring the bell to be notified about my latest uploads. Don't forget to follow me on social media for my latest opinions and video updates. I hope to see you next time.